When he noticed the slight change in the expressions on their faces, Ren Tianxiong understood that everyone who cultivated seemed to have known about Lingyin College. Since everyone knows about Lingyin College, I will not spend more time on introducing it. In our region, there are 3 major colleges, amongst which the Lingyin College has the best reputation, and it is also the strongest. Our college usually contend against the Beihai College. However, in recent years, it turns out that Beihai College has taken refuge under the wing of Lingyin College. Therefore, their relationship is very good. And we, Kanglin College, we are slightly inferior. Ren Tianxiong said with a heavy voice. When the 3 colleges were founded, the 3 colleges were all equal. There was no big difference between them. Ren Tianxiong was the principal of Kanglin College, and he was feeling guilty and sad that the college had been reduced to such a state. I heard that the reason Lingyin College has the reputation it has today is because it has been connected to the Qing dynasty. With the support of the Qing dynasty, the equipment and so on has been greatly improved, so it is no wonder that it has been growing stronger and stronger. Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with enlightenment. Not only Lingyin College, but now also Beihai College had begun to accept the sponsorship of the Qing dynasty. The only college that was keeping a distance was the Kanglin College. This is also the reason why their college is at the bottom of the 3 colleges. If the Kanglin College also accepted the help and sponsorship of the Qing dynasty, then the strength of the college would be improved. Ren Tianxiong signed. The 3 colleges were created for the sake of cultivating talents and remaining neutral. This was the idea of the first principle of our college. For this reason, I have always adhered to the beliefs of our first principle. When the Lingyin College first brought up the idea of working together with the Qing dynasty, I was against it, but now everyone is eager to improve and has forgotten the original purpose. Ren Tianxiong's face was slightly pale. The vicissitudes of life could be seen in his brightly shining eyes, as if he was thinking of a distant past. When the crowd saw their principal looking like this, they too felt a little heavy at heart. Thinking about the things that the principal had just said about the Lingyin College, the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang flashed slightly, and she had already guessed what this was about. Ren Tianxiong was always able to continue insisting on following the original purpose of the first principle. This was something that was not easy to do, and it could be seen that he was not just a profiteer who tried to earn easily. The Lingyin College is more practical. If the college was independent, then there was no bond that bound the cultivator. The college would support the geniuses in doing what they wished for after finishing their time at the college. Because the school was originally established to help talented young cultivators, they would let the geniuses decide for themselves. However, now that the Lingyin College had gone under the banner of the Qing dynasty, people who studied at the Lingyin College would be expected to join the Qing dynasty upon finishing their studies. In this situation, she could not say who was right, but she respected Ren Tianxiong for being able to stick with the original purpose of the Kanglin College. This is not the most important. Ren Tianxiong waved his hand. The 3 colleges have always had a tournament. It used to be once every 5 years, but this time it was moved ahead of schedule. When the words were said, it was as if everyone's expression changed slightly. So they were the ones who would participate in the competition between the 3 colleges? This time you even surpassed the children from martial arts families when you seized the ancient heritage in the ruins. Therefore, the name of our college is spreading like a wildfire. Many practitioners arrive and wants to become members of the Kanglin College. Such a big movement, it is impossible to hold back, and thus they decided to hold the college tournament in advance. Ren Tianxiong sneered. He knew what the 2 other colleges were planning. Amongst the 3 colleges, Lingyin College and Beihai Colleges had already agreed, so even if he disagreed, it would be pointless. This time, the college tournament will be held at Lingyin College. I'm going to let you go to the competition. What do you think? Ren Tianxiong's eyes landed on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. The strength of these special enrollment students was undoubtedly the strongest amongst his college. If you wanted to do good at the tournament, you must naturally send them. Gong Xiaoqing and the others looked at each other, but they did not refuse. It would be a great help to them to go to the Lingyin College and see the strong practitioners. Lingyin College was so powerful that they would be able to gain something from the Lingyin College practitioners. If you rank in the tournament, you would become famous. Every college tournament could bring people to the top. Once they had achieved a ranking, their status would rise, and even some forces would be happy to extend an invitation to them. Therefore, the college tournament was highly anticipated by many students. There should have been 2 years until the next college tournament, and they thought they might not be at the college at that time. That it had been moved forward was simply as if meat pies had fallen from the sky. Bailey Hongzhuang also wanted to see the other 2 colleges. Recently, she had been practicing, but there had been no rival. If she could meet someone who could fight against her at the college exchange, then she was also happy. "We are willing," all of them answered in unison. When listening to their answer, Ren Tianxiong smiled. "I hope that you can achieve good results in this college tournament." This time, not only is there a strength test, there is also an alchemist test. Lu Qingwei, you should be prepared. Lu Qingwei nodded her head. After returning from the ruins, she had decided on her future goals. She had decided to put all her energy into refining medicinal herbs and pills. Instead of focusing on martial arts and refining, if she just focused on one, she would have better results in the future. Please do not be too happy. This time, in the ancient ruins, we from the Kangling College has stolen the show. Lingyin and Beihai College suddenly suggesting the tournament now. It is likely they will go together against us. You should be mentally prepared. Huan Qiu's face was a bit ugly. This tournament felt a bit like the Feast of Hongmen. When hearing the worried words, everyone had a dignified expression on their faces. The meaning of Huan Qiu's words were easy to understand. The possibility of such a Feast of Hongmen was not small. They should not be too optimistic. We understand. The crowd nodded their heads, and they all mentally prepared themselves. Although they didn't know what cards the Lingyin and the Beihai College were holding up their sleeves, they could only prepare for the situation at hand when it happened. Seeing that everyone had realized and started changing their mind around, Huan Qiu nodded his head in relief. His biggest concern was that these students participated in the tournament and was destroyed by their own self-confidence. This kind of thing had happened before. As a cultivator, self-confidence is extremely important. But if you were overly arrogant, you would destroy your future path. That situation would be terrible. All of you go and prepare. We will leave Kangling College after 3 days. Yes, the students left the principal's office, but their mood was complicated. Everyone was thinking about what to do next. In my opinion, Lingyin and Beihai College will definitely make a move against us. Naturally, they want to crush our college, Xia Jiqing said. Dongfang nodded slightly. Amongst the 3 colleges, Lingyin College and Beihai College are united. Naturally, they want to crush us. We must be careful. Since they suddenly propose to hold a college tournament now, they must have a certain grasp of the victory. Gong Xiaoqing's face was slightly ugly. We're going to go forward and challenge them all. To put it bluntly, the Lingyin College and the Beihai College had seen their advance and wanted to defeat them so that they could not continue there to expand. As a result, many of the students who were now flocking to Kangling College would turn to their arms instead. Counter soldiers with arms, water with earth. Since we have no other choices, then we will advance boldly and see their move. The lips of Bailey Hongzhuang turned upwards into a smile. The bright phoenix eyes shone with a confident light. For this kind of thing, if they worried too much, it would be useless. In the end, they just had to fight against the students of the other 2 colleges. If it was fair and they lose, then they can only blame their own skills. But if the other party made a sinister move and she discovered it, she would never let the other party be happy. The people who were originally worried suddenly felt a bit relaxed after hearing the words of Bailey Hongzhuang. Indeed, their worry was useless. It was better to improve their strength in this process. When they were in the duels, they could lean more. After returning to the room, Bailey Hongzhuang began preparing something that might be used later. Last time, she bought a lot of herbs from Ji Wenbin. She also took some equipment from him. Some things, they might not look like they were useful on normal days, but they could play a decisive role at the crucial moment. Just as they have dealt with Yi Huqing in the past, these things were best to have prepared. In the remaining 2 days, Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating in the cultivation tower. During this time, she was not far from breaking through into the second step of the Red Realm. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others gathered at the entrance of Kanglan College. Ordinary students noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other people had packed their bags and were preparing to depart. Their eyes were shining with envy. This was the difference between normal students and the students from the special enrollment class. Only students who were from the special enrollment class could leave when they felt like it, while they could only spend every day practicing within the college. Normal students had to spend a year practicing at the college before they were allowed to go out. I heard that the students of the special enrollment class are going to Lingyin College to participate in the college tournament. I also heard that the tournament was suddenly moved ahead of schedule. If they can achieve good results in the tournament, their future will be bright. I thought it was 2 years away and that I still had time, but now it is suddenly moved ahead of time. The people were filled with envy and regret, but even so, they still hoped that the special enrollment students could get good grades. After all, they were all students of Kanglan College. If the students of Kanglan College achieved good results in the tournament, then they too would share the glory as members of the same college. Since everyone is here and is ready, let's go. The team leader, Huan Chuyu, was responsible for leading the students to Qing Dynasty. Liu Huayan and Fu Hongbo were the mentors for the special enrollment class, so naturally they also had to go with them. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others nodded their heads slightly. The trip to the Qing Dynasty was long, and their time was tight. "You start, we will follow," Liu Huayan said. Although they didn't know what is going to happen, they still wanted to see the students rely on their own strength to make it to the Qing Dynasty. On the way, Liu Huayan and the other teachers went missing. The students had free hands. The next moment, everyone started traveling on the road to the Qing Dynasty. It takes at least half a month, even when we are hurrying. The Qing Dynasty is really far away. After seeing the vice principal and the two mentors leaving, Bai Junyu opened his mouth. He had always been the type of person who spoke all the time. Keeping him quiet was difficult. The strength of the Qing Dynasty is much stronger than the surrounding countries, such as Fengbua. It is truly a hegemon with a huge territory. Even if we are on the road for half a month, we will only arrive at the border of the Qing Dynasty. To reach the capital, we will need a full month. Dongfang looked at the crowd as he said, "Then it will take us 2 months to get there," Xia Jiqing said, slightly excited. She had never been so far away since her childhood. The Qing Dynasty was without a doubt the furthest away. Lu Qingyue smiled and nodded her head. The Qing Dynasty is far away from our college. The same goes for the Beihai College. Amongst the 3 colleges, Lingyin is in the center. It is also due to the long distance that the tournament is only planned for every 5th year. Gong Xiaoqing said, "Is the tournament always being held at Lingyin College?" Xia Jiqing asked, her expression betraying her confusion. Dongfang shook his head slightly. "No, it's not. The college tournament has a rule. The first place college is the one that hosts the next tournament," Dongfang explained. "So the last tournament was won by Lingyin College?" Xia Jiqing frowned. Although she had not been to Lingyin College, she had a feeling of dislike towards it. Dongfang Yu and Gong Xiaoqing looked at each other with a bit of helplessness. Then they answered, "Not only the last time, but also the time before was won by Lingyin College. It is precisely because of this that the Kanglan College has been suppressed. It has been many years since it has been able to compete with the Lingyin and Beihai colleges." Gong Xiaoqing's eyes flashed with solemnity. "We have a great responsibility during this tournament. If we lose again, Lingyin College would have won 3 consecutive tournaments. Then the reputation of our college, which has just risen, will fall back to the bottom. We have to do our best this time." Gong Xiaoqing's handsome face was serious and filled with decisiveness. He had a great feeling of belonging to the Kanglan College. Therefore, he did not want to see it fall to such depths. Hearing the words, everyone nodded their heads. As a student of the college, they decided to do their best. However, in addition to us, there is also the Beihai College. Is it possible for them to win? Bai Junyu thought out loud. Since there were 3 colleges, all 3 had to fight against one another. Why did Gong Xiaoqing only consider the Lingyin College their opponents? Beihai College has already formed an alliance with the Lingyin College. Therefore, they will work together to deal with us. At the beginning, our principal and the principal of Lingyin College had an argument because of Lingyin College being sponsored by the Qing dynasty. That time our college lost, and our principal had to admit that the Lingyin College was right. When the words were said, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were shocked. They did not expect such a thing had happened. At the thought of this, everyone felt heavy and that there was a burden on their shoulders. If they were to lose this time, not only would the principal lose face, he might also have to give up the values he believed in. That damned Lingyin College principal. I have not seen him yet, and I already think he is annoying, Xia Jiqing said angrily. In her eyes, although she did not have much contact with the principal, she still felt that he was a good principal. As a member of Kanglin College, how could she let her principal bow to another? In the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang, all doubts were gone. It seemed that they could only win this tournament. Master, in my opinion, this time Lingyin College and Beihai College will definitely try to make a lot of problems for you, Little Black said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly. Only this time, Lingyin College cannot win, and they will definitely pay for it. Next, the red lips of Bailey Hongzhuang rose into a smile. The stronger the opponent, the more motivated I am to battle. I'm looking forward to this. Bailey Hongzhuang and a group of 8 people rushed to the Qing dynasty. As a cultivator, whether it was energy or endurance, they were far above ordinary people. Therefore, they would travel much faster than others. Finally, after rushing for half a month, they arrived at the border of the Qing dynasty. Longguang Town. Everyone walked on the streets of Longguang Town. As a border town, it was not at all deserted. Instead, it was actually incredibly bustling with life. People came and went, and the trade was prosperous. As soon as they walked into the town, they all showed a smile on their faces. Their feeling of exhaustion was reduced. We have been resting in the forest these last 2 days, and now we have arrived at a town. We can get a meal first, and then find an inn to rest in, Cui Haoyin suggested. These days they have been eating dry food, no hot meals. Agree, everyone answered. They have been running for so long that they are tired. What's more, when resting in the wild, they could never relax their spirit. Even when they were asleep, they had to be alert. However, in an inn they could sleep without a worry. Everyone were hungry and just wanted to choose a restaurant where they could eat. Finally, they stopped at the door to a restaurant. As they walked in, they found that the place was filled with people. It was immensely lively. We will eat here. What do you think? Cui Haoyin asked with a smile. Okay. The faces of all the students were filled with a relaxed smile. As soon as they entered the restaurant, the scent of wine and food wafted into the noses of all of them. When they saw that people came in, the waiter rushed over. Dear guest, the second floor has no more space. There are only 2 tables on the first floor lobby. What would you like to do? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did not care. They wanted to eat dinner. They did not care where it was. The group of 8 people sat down at the 2 tables, 4 women at one and 4 men at another. Not long after, the dishes they ordered came up, and with the signature dishes filled with flavor, everyone started to eat with their chopsticks. Starting with the fish dishes, Xia Jiqing happily smiled. Having eaten dry food for so many days and finally getting a hot meal, I am really happy. Seeing the extreme happiness on the face of Xia Ziwing, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not hold back a smile. You can be sure that now that we have arrived in the Qing dynasty, the road should be bustling and we should not have to go hungry again. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled lightly. There was a large wilderness between the 2 countries, but now they had entered the dynasty. Things were different. Especially since they were headed for the Qing dynasty's imperial city, the way would be much smoother than before. Xia Jiqing nodded her head. That's also good. I haven't washed for a few days. I feel uncomfortable. While everyone were talking, several young cultivators dressed magnificently walked into the restaurant. They were both men and women, and their temperament was extraordinary. It was obvious that they were not ordinary people. Give us an elegant room, a yellow-robed young man called out, his expression showing a bit of arrogance. When the waiter saw this, he knew that they were not good people, and he could not help but feel helpless. Dear guests, I am sorry, but the rooms are all full. When he heard the words of the waiter, The yellow-robed man's brows wrinkled, and he had an unpleasant look in his eyes. "Then we will eat here." As they said this, they looked in the lobby and found that there was no space either, their expressions turning ugly. "Dear guests, as you can see, the first floor is also full," the waiter said helplessly. "I finally arrived at Longwang Town. I want to have a good meal. I did not expect this place to be full. I don't want to change place again." At this time, a woman in red dress amongst the people in the group spoke out. The woman's appearance was very outstanding. Her skin was white and her lips were red, but the arrogance she had in her expression ruined her beauty a little. Listening to the words of the woman in the red dress, the man in yellow robes changed his expression slightly, and a smile was raised on his lips. "Jinglin, you can be sure that even if there's no space, I will make it so that there is space soon. Shui Haolong, my sister is not familiar with you." At this time, the woman with purple dress suddenly made a noise and looked at the man with the yellow robe. Shui Haolang's face was a bit ugly. This Lu Jingqi was always against him and causing trouble. "Shui Haolang, I am hungry. Handle this matter quickly." Lu Jinglin was carefree about the entire matter. "Sure." Shui Haolang smiled and nodded his head, turned to look at the waiter, and said, "Listen well, get some tables cleared for us, otherwise I will tear this restaurant down." The waiter's face was ugly for a moment, and he quickly said, "Dear guest, I really have no way. The other guests have not eaten their food yet. I cannot drive them away." "I don't care. I only want to see the result." Shui Haolang looked proud. If he couldn't even handle this little thing, then he was useless. He took a purse and placed it on the counter. "When you get things done, this will be yours." Even so, the face of the waiter did not change. "Dear guest, the business of this restaurant is not like that. If there is anyone willing to leave for you, that's fine, but we will not chase anyone away." The people who are eating on the first floor all look at Shui Haolang, but their eyes were filled with disgust over his overbearing manner. It's a bunch of hedonistic rich kids. Every time such a young master appears, it is nothing good. Is it not just being a bit stronger than others? It is not like they're so amazing, it is really annoying. This kind of hedonistic rich kid is far from good. Meeting him is bad luck. The people who whispered W are all ordinary people, but they had seen a lot before. "These people are too unreasonable," Xia Jiqing said while frowning. Zhang Yunfeng nodded her head. "From their appearance, they should be cultivados." So many cultivators gathered together, and the travel-worn appearance, they should not be from Longwang Town. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly glanced at Shui Haolang and the others. Zhang Yunfeng's words made her curious, and she instantly understood. But instead of caring, she continued to eat. She had never been a noisy person. As long as they did not try to do anything to her, she did not care about them. Seeing the waiter's embarrassed expression, Shui Haolang was also feeling annoyed. "It seems that you will not understand unless you have been taught a lesson, so you know how to behave." As soon as the voice fell, the waiter's face was white as a sheet. He could guess that these people were cultivators. He was just an ordinary person. How could he be their opponent? At this time, a black-robed man walked out from behind the others and said to Shui Haolang, "Why say so much nonsense? Just drive away 2 tables of customers." The man's face was cold, and there was a bit of impatience within his eyes. Obviously, he was displeased with Shui Haolang and the waiter's argument. Hearing this, Shui Haolang nodded his head again and again. It was easy to see how much he respected this black-clothed man. Lu Jingqi had a smile on her face. Is it okay to drive them away together? Next, Shui Haolang and the others walked into the restaurant's lobby on the first floor. The waiter wanted to block them, but he did not have the courage. After all, he was really offended by these people. Shui Haolang and the others looked at the tables and saw who were eating. After the eyes landed on them, many felt uncomfortable and looked away. They did not know who would be the unfortunate ones. People like Bailey Hongzhuang and her friends were still eating their meals, and when Shui Haolang's eyes landed on them, there was a bit of threat contained within. Lu Jingqi's eyes fell on a purple figure in the restaurant, because she found that she was wearing the exact same clothes as her. "Sister, look at that table." Lu Jingqi looked at Lu Jinglin and pointed at Xia Jiqing. Lu Jinglin's eyes swept over Xia Jiqing, and she instantly understood her sister's plan. Her sister had never liked to share anything with others, and not even someone wearing the same clothes as her. Shui Haoling, let us sit at this table, Lu Jinglin said. Looking at the direction that Lu Jinglin was pointing, Shui Haoling saw a table with 4 women. Originally, he would never have chased away 4 women, as he would be blamed of bullying. However, he had liked Lu Jinglin for a long time. He would not refuse anything she asked of him. Everyone within the lobby looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 4 girls with pity. They were really unlucky. Bailey Hongzhuang was seated with her back to the other people. But after seeing the sympathetic eyes of the other people, she could easily guess what had happened. Hongzhuang, they're coming towards us. Xia Jiqing's face was filled with anger. So many people in the lobby, but they went for them. Did they think they were easy to bully? At this time, Shui Haoling's voice rang from behind Bailey Chong's way. We need to use this table. Go away and I will pay for your food. Shui Haoling looked proud, but then he saw the woman next to Bailey Hongzhuang, and his face could not help but change a few times. So beautiful, even more beautiful than Lu Jinglin. Such temperament and looks, simply a goddess in every man's mind. Lu Jinglin also noticed this, her face turning ugly. Her appearance had always been praised by others, and now there was a woman who was even more beautiful than her. Oh, how generous! Xia Jiqing stood up. Why should we go? Shui Haoling and the others were drawn to this other woman's appearance. It was not comparable to the other woman, but it was also charming. I told you to go, so you have to go. Lu Jingqi raised her eyebrows, and her expression was filled with arrogance. If you don't leave, don't blame us for driving you out. Bragging, Zhang Yinfeng also stood up and looked at Lu Jingqi with a glare. You are not the only cultivator here. Next, Zhang Yinfeng directly took out her sword and put it on the table. At the same time, Gong Shaoqing and the others from the table next to them also stood up. They did not like to get into trouble, but they would not be bullied. When they saw Gong Shaoqing and the others also stood up, they were stunned. They thought the 4 girls at the table were alone. They had not expected the 4 men next to them to be together with them. As a result, it would become messy. Li Jingqi's face was ugly, and she had not expected to pick such a large group of people. I'll give you 3 seconds, Scram. The voice of Bailey Hongzhuang was cold. This kind of person who was so arrogant, she did not need to give them even the slightest bit of face. With the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Shui Haoling's face instantly turned ugly. Although they had 8 people, it would just be a little troublesome. Never would they have expected that this white-dressed woman with her back to them would talk about them leaving. Such courage! Lu Jingqi snorted. Who are you to tell us to scram? We were eating here, and you ran to us for no reason, telling us to leave. That is such bad upbringing. I told you to scram. It is already giving you enough face. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was completely cold, not having the slightest temperature. This person is not even turning around. Even if it was to an ordinary person, this would be severe humiliation. This was an insult. When the words came out, Lu Jingqi and the others' faces turned colorful. This woman had a sharp tongue. They could not refute her at all. The other guests, after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang, all felt that she was correct. All the people who were nervous before were now watching a great show. Shui Haoling had picked a hard bone. They just had to look at the white-clothed girl to know that they were equally important. Li Jingqi sneered in anger. If you have the ability to face us, then do so. Are you so ugly that you don't dare turn around? Li Jingqi had always been arrogant. So what if what she said made no sense? She was an unreasonable person, but strength was the truth. However, after hearing Lu Jingqi's words, Xia Jiqing could not help but laugh. This Lu Jingqi is really an idiot. Bailey Hongzhuang is the most attractive of them all. Now she said that she was too ugly and afraid to meet people. Not only Xia Jiqing, but also Dongfang Yu and the others at the side could not help but laugh. If they said she was ugly, then no one would dare to say that they were beautiful. Next, under the gaze of Lu Jingqi and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly turned around. The beautiful face, which could make cities crumble, held a mocking smile. What did you just say? Shui Haoling took a deep breath of air when he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him. He thought that Lu Qingyue was already the best amongst women, but then when he saw this white-dressed woman, he realized that there was one even more outstanding. Chapter 641 is looking for abuse all along. Xue Haoling had always thought that Lu Jinglin was a very beautiful woman. Throughout the entire Beihai College, Lu Jinglin and Lu Jingqi were very famous, and many practitioners pursued them. However, the eyes of these sisters were set high, and ordinary people could not even enter their eyes. Only special enrollment students could get to know them. He had long since regarded Lu Jinglin as his goal. Although Lu Jinglin was proud, at least she was not sharp-tongued. In his view, beautiful and powerful women had the capital to be arrogant. As for Lu Jingqi, it was too troublesome and her words would not easily be forgiven. Therefore, between the sisters, he has decided on Lu Jinglin. Nowadays, everyone at the college knew that he had Lu Jinglin as a goal, and that they are close usually. He was somewhat proud of this. He had never thought that the 4 women in from of him would be the same as Lu Jinglin. 2 of them were even better. Lu Jingqi saw the appearance of Bali Hongzhuang, and shock appeared in her eyes, before her face turned to the color of pig liver. She wanted to take the woman down, who knew she was just looking to be abused. You. Li Jingqi opened her mouth, but she did not know what to say. The original arrogance had disappeared. The people who were watching could not help but laugh at this scene. It was really such an interesting situation. The waiter was feeling better. He was really annoyed with Xue Haoling and the others, but he was not their opponent. Now, seeing them eating a loss, he naturally felt much better. Bailey Hongzhuang simply ignored Lu Jingqi and raised her fingers. 3. After listening to the words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Xue Haoling's face was gloomy. This white-dressed woman was destroying their face. If they left like this, then where would their faces be? 2. Dongfang Yu and the others were standing at the same place without a care. In fact, the provocation that they had been subject to had aroused their anger. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang was making them all happy. Girl, your attitude is bad. At this time, Xiao Lanmei stood up. His eyes were focused on Bailey Hongzhuang. Within the cold eyes were a few colors. Such a beautiful woman. If she is too troublesome, it is a pity. When they saw Xiao Lanmei stand up, Lu Jinglin and the others had changes in their expressions. Everyone knew the attitude of Xiao Lanmei. He had been too lazy to deal with things ordinarily. Therefore, on the way, he rarely did anything, but they do not dare to look down upon him. Xiao Lanmei was the strongest amongst them. It was because they understood his temperament and personality that they were shocked that he suddenly stood up. Could it be that he stood up because of the white woman in front of them? Chapter 642. It is best to make friends thinking of this. The faces of Lu Jinglin and Lu Jingqi were ugly as they looked at one another. It is true that what we did was not correct. However, we can still make it right. How about making some new friends? Otherwise, if we truly move against one another, then there will be no benefits to any of us. Xiao Lanmei's face was filled with confidence. Although the other party had 8 people, they too had 8 people. Even though it was not clear how the strength of the other party was, they were all around the same age. Once they got hands-on and hurt one another, it would not become a good thing. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Lanmei indifferently. This guy looked sincere, but she did not forget what he had said before. This person is definitely not a soft persimmon. With the voice of Xiao Lanmei falling, the expressions of Xia Jiqing and the others changed slightly. As Xiao Lanmei said, if they truly began fighting, the result could not be guessed. However, moments after, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her back to them, sat down, and continued to eat. Xiao Lanmei's face turned ugly, and Lu Jingqi could not help but take advantage of the scene to say, "Hey, what do you mean by acting like this? He already said that we should fix it. Then I will pretend that nothing has ever happened. As for being friends, everyone is different, but that's our freedom to choose." After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's behavior, all the others sat down and began eating again, not paying any mind at the others, pretending that Xiao Lanmei and his friends were heir. At the beginning, Bailey Hongzhuang was the new girl in their special enrollment class. Now, after being in the ruins, Bailey Hongzhuang had already broken through to the innate realm. In the world of cultivators, strength was what determined everything. No one looked at people's age. For this reason, today, Bailey Hongzhuang had slowly become their leader. All of them were convinced about her strength and ability. Xiao Lanmei's face was a bit green. For the first time when he tried to make a friend, someone refused, not even giving him any face. This made him feel immensely uncomfortable. Don't think you are something special. Xiao Lanmei wants to make friends with you, and you are still unwilling? Lu Jingqi raised her voice. Her eyes were filled with shock. Do you know who we are? When the words of Lu Jingqi was said, the expression of Gong Xiaoqing and the others changed a bit. Previously, they felt that so many young cultivators gathered together were likely coming from a college. When they heard Lu Jingqi's words, they affirmed their thoughts. So the students of Beihai College are this arrogant when traveling outside. The red lips of Bailey Hongzhuang hooked up slightly, and the smile made her resemble an evil spirit. The black eyes were shining with a cold light. Originally, she just wanted to have a good meal, but because of the actions of these guys, she had lost her appetite. Beihai College. The people in the restaurant were stunned after hearing the name of Beihai College. Although Lingying College was the best-known college within Qing Dynasty, the name of Beihai College was still very good. It was a gathering place for many young geniuses. These young people actually came from Beihai College. That was an extinguished identity. When Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, the expression on Lu Jingqi's face constantly changed in color. She had not expected that this white-dressed woman would be able to guess their identity right away. Chapter 643, Kanglin College's Special Enrollment Students. What was most unexpected for these students from Beihai College was not that the woman in white had accurately guessed their identity. What truly surprised them was that the woman had guessed their identity and still had such an attitude. We are not ordinary students of Beihai College. Lu Jingqi could not help but stress. In the eyes of ordinary people, the students of Beihai College were already unreachable, but the future of special enrollment students was even brighter, not something a normal student could compare to. Aren't you just special enrollment students, right? Xia Jiqing sneered. For her, Lu Jingqi was the worst of them all. In the past, Lu Jingqi had pointed her finger at them because this woman was wearing the same dress as her. She was also very proud of being a special enrollment student from Kanglin College. However, she was far from as arrogant. Hearing Xia Jiqing's words, Lu Jingqi was even angrier than before. Who was this person, daring to have such an attitude? What are you doing? Who are you? Don't you know how special it is to be a special enrollment student of Beihai College? When the voice of Lu Jingqi fell, the expression of the Beihai College's special enrollment students' faces were not looking too good. All of them were looking at Bailey Hongzhuang and his friends. As a special enrollment student, they had always been respected by everyone. When have they ever heard someone provoke them like this? This tone, they have long since felt insulted. It seems they're going to fight. They're the special enrollment students of Beihai College. I don't know the identity of the white-dressed woman and her companions, but they do not have the slightest fear on their faces. If they really fight, then they will give us a good show. There were a lot of people talking. Seeing such a good show was rare on normal days. They also want to know how strong the special enrollment students of Beihai College were. Gong Xiaoqing and the others took out their weapons, and the contest between the cultivators has always been with real weapons. They had no intention of actually paying attention to them, but Lu Jingqi had been looking for trouble. If they continue to be patient, wouldn't they be sullying the name of their college? What's more, the students of Beihai College were their opponents, and they couldn't help but be offended. They were standing in different camps. Kanglin College, special enrollment class, Gong Xiaoqing slowly announced. As soon as the words were said, Xiao Lanmei and the others were stunned. No matter what they thought, they did not think that the white-dressed woman and his friends turned out to be special enrollment students from Kanglin College. This was truly a narrow road. They were all rushing towards Lingying College, but they had not imagined to meet each other at the border to the Qing Dynasty. Kanglin College. The crowds of the restaurant were dumbfounded at the moment. The Kanglin College was equally famous. it had not lost to Beihai College at all. They did not expect the two colleges to collide like this. It was no wonder they did not give each other face. It turned out that they were representing two different colleges. Xiaolan Mei suddenly understood why Bailey Hongzhuang had such an attitude towards him. It turned out that she had already seen through their identity. Although they had not completely torn faces with each other, there were a lot of grievances between the two colleges. Thinking of this, Xiaolan Mei's face turned better. I was originally also a member of the Kanglin College, Shui Holing sneered. He had worried about where the others came from, but after hearing that they came from Kanglin College, he felt that there was no need to worry. Chapter 644. If you have the ability, then let's go out and fight. The Kanglin College had not had good results in the last two college tournaments. Although this time, the story about the ancient ruins had spread everywhere. The college tournament was especially prepared to deal with them. Once Kanglin College collapsed once more, it would be impossible for it to lift its head in front of Lingyin College. Beihai College had already joined forces with Lingyin College some years ago, and while Kanglin College had lost, they had received some benefits. I said, who are they to think that they are so great? Turn out that they are the special enrollment students of the Kanglin College, who has been doing so badly the last two tournaments. Lu Jinglin smiled smugly, but the dark eyes were flashing with a strange light. For so long, Xiaolan Mei had never paid attention to her, but in front of this white-dressed woman he changed. Xiaolan Mei was acting differently towards her. How could she not be angry? Thinking of this, Lu Jinglin naturally tried to laugh at Bailey Hongzhuang. She wants the other party to be unable to lift her head. The faces of Gong Xiaoqing and the others changed a few times. Lu Jinglin's words were clearly laughing at them. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. There was an air of indifference and coldness around her as she said, as a cultivator, even if you lose, you cannot be without courage. Those who only know how to flatter those who has power will never go far. Yes, Xia Jiqing clapped her hands. You are just a dog of Lingyin College. I really don't know what you are so proud of. You are looking for death. Lu Jinglin's face changed, and she immediately took out her weapon and pointed it at Xia Jiqing. Xia Jiqing was not afraid at all. She pulled out her whip and looked at Lu Jinglin without fear. If you have the guts, don't just stand there and swear. I don't have the patience for this. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had also taken out their weapons, and the two sides had reached a point where they had no other solution than to fight. If you have the ability, then let's go out and fight. The voice of Bailey Hongzhuang was very cold. They had a large number of people. If they fought within the restaurant, they would undoubtedly harm others. It was better to go out and fight it out. Come on then. Lu Jingqi screamed out loud. She had never been this angry in her entire life. She had to see just how strong this woman was. The next moment, everyone left the restaurant together. Before they left, Bailey Hongzhuang still remembered to pay for the food. Even when the waiter refused to accept the money, she still paid. The waiter was truly grateful. Bailey Hongzhuang had not only solved a big problem for him, she had also avoided damage being done to the restaurant. Such a good person was truly rare. Not only the waiter, but also the other people in the restaurant nodded after seeing the scene. Although I don't know how the strength of the two colleges compare, I still think the students of Kanglin College are much better than the students of Beihai College. It was now known who said this, but everyone agreed with the person. Yes, the students of Kanglin College were far superior to Beihai College's student in terms of appearance and character. The students of Beihai College are a group of people who are just a bit talented. This kind of people were better off with no talent. In the future, if they get stronger, their strength will only be used to harm others. Shui Haoling and the others were walking out of the restaurant, and as they walked, they could hear the voices of everyone, and their faces were suddenly extremely ugly to behold. These people were simply calling them worthless. Chapter 645. Special enrollment students fighting hand in hand. As soon as they had walked out of the restaurant, the cultivators from the two colleges instantly began fighting. They had to use their own strength to let the other side understand how they had to pay a huge price for offending them. Lu Jingqi instantly regarded Bailey Hongzhuang as her target. However, things were not as she had planned. and before he had time to get in front of Bail Hongzhuang, Xia Jiqing stopped her directly. "Your opponent is me." Seeing Xia Jiqing, Lu Jingqi's eyes were filled with disgust. This woman was wearing the same clothes as her, making her nauseous. "I'm going to beat you into a sorry state." Lu Jingqi yelled angrily. "Begin fighting if you have the ability. There is no meaning in saying so much nonsense." Listening to Lu Jingqi's swear words, Xia Jiqing did not fear her at all. She had long since seen that her arrogance was far greater than her strength. She had been used to the words she said, now to teach her a lesson. Lu Jinglin rushed in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. "You will regret everything you just did." She refused to let go of this woman who was being noticed by Xiao Lanmei. Bailey Hongzhuang originally wanted to fight against Xiao Lanmei. After all, she was the strongest on the team, while he should be the strongest on their team. She had not expected that Lu Jinglin would come finding her on her own. However, she didn't care who it was. The battle broke out in an instant, and everyone had their energies surging as their fists greeted each other. Shockwaves of majestic volatile energy spread through the streets, and the surrounding air seemed to have been compressed in an instant. The surrounding merchants had all left when they saw this scene. If they were hit, no one knew what would happen to them. Bailey Hongzhuang directly raised her white hand, and her glass sword appeared in her hand. The movement of her body turned resembled that of a ghost, and she quickly appeared behind Lu Jinglin. Lu Jinglin's reaction was very fast. She was, after all, a special enrollment student, and she naturally had a bit of skill. Ding! The two women's swords collided and shot off sparks. Bail Hongzhuang was not holding back. She had had no opponents for a while. Now that she had someone to fight, she also felt happy. However, it was clear that Lu Jinglin was not an opponent for Bailey Hongzhuang, because in just this short moment, Lu Jingli had already been defeated. Lu Jinglin had not thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was this strong. It was just a normal fight, but the pressure that Bailey Hongzhuang gave off was simply too much for her to handle. Every time she responded, she needed to rely on Yuanli to strengthen herself. On the other hand, Bailey Hongzhuang looked as relaxed as if it was nothing. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang made an attack, and Lu Jinglin's body instantly fell down. She had responded quickly, but even so, she still fell down. Huh! Lu Jinglin, who landed on the ground, could not help but spurt out blood, her face turning pale. Upon seeing this, the cultivators of Beihai College glanced at one another. They had just begun fighting, and Lu Jinglin was already seriously injured. The eyes of everyone can't help but land on Bailey Hongzhuang. Was this woman with the beautiful appearance really so powerful? Big sister, when Lu Jinglin was injured, Lu Jingqi had no mood to continue fighting. She quickly rushed to Lu Jinglin's side. However, there was a faint glimmer in Xia Jiqing's eyes. She was not a vegetarian. She was going to teach this annoying Lu Jingqi another lesson. The next moment, Xia Jiqing's whip flashed out. Her youthful face released a ridiculing laugh as she put away her whip, her arms wrapped around her chest. She was laughing as she watched Lu Jingqi. This kind of woman ought to be taught a lesson, otherwise she would continue to be a nuisance. Lu Jingqi did not notice what happened, as she quickly went to Lu Jinglin's side. Big sister, how are you? She only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was a beautiful shell. She would never have thought that she was so strong. So strong that just a moment of face-to-face fighting had caused her sister to be hurt and vomit out blood. Lu Jinglin stared at her chest. Her white palm fell on her chest, and she could only feel a burning pain that spread through her internal organs. She felt painful and uncomfortable. However, when she saw Lu Jingqi approach her, Lu Jinglin's eyes widened, and she could not help but say, "Jingqi, cough." Once again, Lu Jinglin spat out blood when she tried to talk. When she finally managed to speak again, a long time had gone by. At the same time, the eyes of all others had gathered on Lu Jingqi. Contrary to what one might expect, she was not wearing any clothes. Had she cut them off? Big sister, you're going to be okay. Lu Jingqi helped Lu Jinglin up gently. Although her personality had always been bad, She was still very concerned about her sister. Suddenly noticing something purple out the corner of her eyes, Lu Jingqi could not help but frown. Her face changed slightly. When she saw the purple clothes that were laying on the ground, she could not help but become a bit doubtful. This purple dress, why was it laying on the ground? Why was it so familiar? Lu Jingqi could not help but stare blankly. When she noticed that Xia Jiqing was standing a bit away laughing, still dressed in her clothes, her complexion had an abrupt change. She bowed her head, just to find that her outer garments were gone. She was only wearing her inner garments. At the same time, Lu Jinglin's voice could be heard. "Jingqi, your clothes." Ah! A sharp and loud scream appeared in the street as Lu Jingqi jumped up in horror. They were fighting on the street, and their actions were quite loud, attracting many people to come over and watch. Hadn't she been seen by everyone? Li Jingqi quickly took out a piece of clothes from her chinquan bag and put it on. She then glared angrily at Xia Jiqing and said, "You are too mean." Xia Jiqing innocently shrugged her shoulders. "Everything can happen when you fight. You ought to understand this." Lu Jingqi's face was blue, and she knew that Xia Jiqing was mocking her, but she could say nothing in return. "You wait. I will get my revenge." As the voice fell, Lu Jingqi rushed away from the street. She had already completely lost her face. Why should she continue to stay? When they saw Lu Jingqi leave, Xue Haoling and the others looked at one another. At this point, how could they fight? Xue Haoling quickly came to the side of Lu Jinglin. "We will get revenge at the tournament." Anytime, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into an enchanting and ridiculing smile. The battle ended very fast. None of them had expected this. Don't be too proud. The cultivators of Beihai College all had ugly expressions and were filled with anger. They were obviously hating Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. "You don't have to go like this. We can continue to fight." Xia Jiqing's face was filled with a smug smile. She was acting as if the special enrollment students of Beihai College were unyielding, while in fact the only strength they had was to talk big. Xiao Lanmei glanced deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang, but he never spoke. After a moment, he left together with the others from Beihai College. "Right, that was so awesome." Xia Jiqing tuned her body around. Her face was filled with excitement. The expression of Lu Jingqi was simply wonderful. I had not expected it to be so amusing. Even Zhang Yinfeng could not help but laugh out loud. "Jiqing, you are simply a genius. I don't know how you could think of such a method." It was a flash of inspiration. Must be divine might. Xia Jiqing raised her eyebrow. "Now Lu Jingqi must really hate you," Lu Qingyue said emotionally. Xia Jiqing just shrugged her shoulders when she heard what she said. "She hated me anyway. I was fated to be hated by her." Everyone nodded their heads. It was as Xia Jiqing was saying, the students of Beihai College hated them, but they did not care about it all. Even if they had not offended them now, they would have done so when they arrived at Lingying College. This was also a chance to explore their strength. Gong Xiaoqing slowly said, "The strength of that Xiao Lanmei is not simple at all." He and Xiao Lanmei battled for a short while, and he could feel that the latter had never exerted his full strength. He should be holding back intentionally. Listening to the words of Gong Xiaoqing, the faces of the others turned solemn. Beihai College was one of the 3 colleges. It would naturally not be bad. Even though we fought, I am afraid that it is impossible to see the true depths of our opponents. They hid themselves deeply, just as we kept our cards hidden. Bailey Hongzhuang said gently. However, what they have been doing was not only themselves who noticed, also the tutors of the 2 colleges had observed the battle that unfolded in front of them. As long as their mentors were present, they would never get to understand the true depth of the other party. Everyone nodded their heads. What Bailey Hongzhuang said made sense. "You are right, but now we have a better understanding of the team from Beihai College. That is a good result, even though we did not get to finish eating." Zhang Yinfeng walked beside Xia Jiqing and gave her a thumbs up. "Jiqing, what you did before really made me happy." Xia Jiqing chuckled and noted. "That Lu Jingqi was so arrogant in front of us. Let's see if she can be proud in front of me next time. Everyone must be tired. Let us find an inn to rest at." Dongfeng Yu suggested. Good idea. The crowd walked down the street before they found an inn where they entered. Dear guests, would you like to rest in our inn? The shopkeeper asked with a smile on his face. They were a border city, so although business was always booming, he had not expected to get two big groups of guests in one day. This way, their inn could be filled completely. Dongfang nodded his head. Yes. Do you have 8 rooms available? There is. The shopkeeper nodded his head again and again. There is exactly 8 rooms left. I will bring you to them. Smiles emerged on their faces. Finally, they could take a good rest. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were preparing to go upstairs, a figure appeared on the second floor. The figure looked like it had seen ghosts when it noticed Bailey Hongzhuang, and it quickly said, "How come you are here?" The faces of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others was also unnatural. Enemies truly met on a narrow road. That phrase was truly accurate. They had only just finished their fight with Beihai College, and now they met them again. This was too coincidental, wasn't it? Is your eyes working? We are obviously at the inn to rest. Who would have known you were here? Xia Jiqing sneered. I see. You deliberately picked our inn to stay in. Lu Jingqi's face was blue. From she was small, and until now, she had never been as humiliated as she was today, and now Xia Jiqing and the others had followed them. Wasn't this the same as deliberately embarrassing her? You think too much. We aren't interested in you. Xia Jiqing looked at Lu Jingqi with disdain. This Lu Jingqi is really not too smart. We have rented this place. Go somewhere else to rest. While Lu Jingqi and Xia Jiqing were talking, Xiaolan Mei and the others also came out from their rooms. As they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their faces changed slightly. What was the situation? The shopkeeper did not tell us you had rented the entire place. If you are unwilling to live with us, you can move out directly. Zhang Yanfeng said coldly. The cold face of Gong Shaoqing was also showing some impatience. Take us to the rooms. The students of Beihai College were masters at causing trouble, but he had no intention of continuing to fight with them right now. No matter how much they argue, there is no point. It is better to go back and rest, and then wait until Lingying College. It will not be too late to move against them then. The shopkeeper's face was slightly awkward. He thought he was lucky to get 2 big groups of customers today. Never would he have thought that they were fighting. Yes, the shopkeeper immediately walked away, closely followed by Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. However, before he got far, Lu Jingqi blocked the road to the shopkeeper. I told you we have booked this in today. You can go elsewhere. Shui Haoling even took out a purse and placed it in the hands of the shopkeeper. Do you understand? We have booked this in, you drive them out. Seeing the situation, the shopkeeper was also in a dilemma. Dear guests, you never mentioned this before. It is a problem to do so now. It is obvious that neither of these 2 teams are ordinary people. If he accidentally offended someone, it would be him who was unfortunate. Shui Haolang, do you only know this one trick? Bai Junyu sneered. This guy also tried to use money on the waiter in a restaurant. Does he have no other ways? Yes, Shui Haolang, you are also a practitioner of the Beihai College, but you only know how to make it difficult for the shopkeeper and the waiter. Aren't you ashamed? When the words came out, Shui Haolang's face turned blue-green. It was true that the 2 times they had met, he had acted like this both times. I am rich. What can you do about it? Shui Haolang directly said with a domineering voice filled with anger. Money in this world was extremely important. In this kind of situation, it was normal to fight with money. Otherwise, how should they fight? Lu Jingqi's face was also smiling after hearing Shui Haolang's words. This was domineering, and they were rich. There was a bit of impatience in the eyes of Xiaolan Mei. There was no reason to waste time on fighting with each others, and he couldn't help but say, it's just one night, even if they live in the same inn. So what? From a previous restaurant, this was the nearest inn. Because of this, he did not think that the Kangling College special enrollment students had followed them intentionally. Also, their mentors are close, so there should be no problems. However, Lu Jingqi was not agreeing. How can we? This time they have fought us. If we give way, where will the face of Beihai College go? There is some dissatisfaction in the heart of Lu Jingqi. She felt that Xiaolan Mei was obsessed with Bailey Hongzhuang and because of this he would allow them to stay in the inn. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not be allowed to stay. Shui Haoling, drive them out. Hearing while Lu Jingqi said, Xiao Lanmei looked at her indifferently. He was too lazy to deal with it, and he directly returned to his room. Obviously, he did not plan on wasting any time on this matter. Shui Haoling nodded, and another purse appeared in his hand. I will pay double, just drive them out. The shopkeeper looked at Shui Haoling and Bailey Hongzhuang in a distressed way. This kind of situation was really making it impossible for him to decide. If he had known of this before, he would rather have done no business today and not seen the situation happening. You should not be too overbearing. This is just a small business with ordinary people. Don't be too much. Shui Hailong seemed to have not heard what he said and directly declared, I'll pay triple. Xia Jiqing and the others looked at Shui Haoling's behavior as a rich young master and were speechless. Was he trying to kill them with money? Hongzhuang, do we change the inn? Zhang Yinfeng could not help but ask. Shui Haoling and the authors are stuck there. It will be hard for them to enter any time soon, and staying here is just causing trouble for the shopkeeper. Listening to Zhang Yunfeng's words, the expressions of Su Haoling and Lu Jingqi showed smugness. They just wanted to let the other side know that they could be forced into a retreat. Now, they lost at the restaurant, they could turn it around at the inn. The faces of Bai Junyu and the others were not looking too good. When they encountered a person with such a rich boy attitude, they could only be speechless. In fact, all of them were rich, but they were not wasteful. Also, if they were going to compete with Shui Haoling and money, it would never end and they would take out money constantly. However, then Bailey Hongzhuang did something that shocked them all. A purse appeared in her hands, and she said casually, Shopkeeper, we are buying this inn. When the words came out, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. Xia Jiqing and the others had hard to describe expressions on their faces that hardly concealed their horror. Too domineering. This is really being domineering. What was Shui Haoling doing before? Bailey Hongzhuang directly bought the entire inn. Lu Qinyue, Dong Fengyu, and Gong Shaoqing looked at one another. In fact, when they had first gone to the Luoyan mountain range, they had already seen this side of Bailey Hongzhuang. Returning qi pills were a precious remedy, but Bailey Hongzhuang had so many of them. In comparison, Shui Haoling's current savings were truly nothing. Buying this inn was nothing. Even if she wanted to buy several inns, it'd be nothing. Bailey Hongzhuang directly bought the inn, only for the purpose of shutting them up. Shui Haoling and Lu Jingqi were also stunned. They did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would make such a move. This woman, she shouldn't be that crazy. They just wanted to stay here for one night, but she actually bought the inn. As a result, those who were screaming before were suddenly quiet. How could this be comfortable? Although Shui Haoling had money to directly buy the inn, it was too wasteful. Suddenly, Shui Haoling's gaze landed on the purse that the shopkeeper was holding. The purse was so small, it could only contain a few gold coins. Wasn't it a joke to buy an inn with such a small purse? This was the Qing dynasty, and this was Longguang town as a border town. There were many trades and merchants here every day. The price of this inn ought to be even more expensive than normal inns. If you want to buy an inn for a few gold coins, it is impossible. With that little money, you want to buy an inn? It is impossible, don't joke. Shui Haoling sneered. Hearing the words, Lu Jingqi's gaze also landed on the purse, and she could not help but laugh. She's a country bumpkin. To buy an inn with that few gold coins, she is a joke. Bailey Hongzhuang's next words stunned Lu Jingqi. Before actually understanding the situation, I advise you to not be too proud. Otherwise, the joke will be you. Compared to the customers of the Beihai College, the students from Kanglan College are calm. They have absolute trust in Bailey Hongzhuang. They already understood her personality. It would be impossible to make such a mistake. Shopkeeper, open and see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The shopkeeper looked worriedly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although there is a contradiction between the two teams, Bailey Hongzhuang has left a good impression on him. After all, they did not embarrass themselves or make troubles, so he did not want her to become a joke. However, as he opened the purse, a bit of purple could be seen, and the worry in his eyes disappeared in an instant. Purple gold coins. The shopkeeper smiled. Shui Haoling and Lu Jingqi were dumbfounded. They would never have guessed that the purse that Bailey Hongzhuang handed over contained purple gold coins. No wonder it looked small. It turned out to be so amazing. During this time, the expressions of both of them turned very ugly. Looking back at what they had just said, this was a slap to their faces. The more proud they were before, the more embarrassed they were now. Ah, you too. It ended up being you who were the joke. Xia Jiqing naturally did not mind taunting them. This kind of people deserved it. You. Lu Jingqi was hopping mad. This Xia Jiqing made her more and more unhappy, but so far she had never gained the upper hand. It was truly driving her mad. What about me? Xia Jiqing shook her head. So unfortunate to be the subject of her hate. Now we own this inn, you can go. You have yet to buy it. The shopkeeper hasn't said he'll sell it. Lu Jingqi looked at the shopkeeper. Previously, the shopkeeper was embarrassed and stuck between them. It was not sure that he would sell the inn now. At this time, Bailey Hongzhuang said a few things to the shopkeeper, and once again, everyone turned stunned. Shopkeeper, I only want to buy this inn for a day. Tomorrow will once again be yours. At this time, the cultivators from Beihai College were petrified. So much money was simply too much to buy this inn normally. But now it is only to buy the inn for a day. Can't you be less wasteful? Even if you have money, don't you get this point? This was simply to make life hard for them. Shui Haoling was also unable to speak at this moment. How could he compare? Although he was very lavish every day, but this kind of money could be used to buy cultivation resources. So if he returned home and his old man knew how he had spent his money, would he not be killed by his old man? The shopkeeper was no longer hesitant. He quickly said, Girl, this inn is yours today. I will tell them to pack up immediately. The next moment, the shopkeeper no longer observed the expressions of Shui Haoling and the others. He directly gave back the money he had gained from Shui Haoling, and they had no other option to go and pack up their things. In this regard, Lu Jingqi could say nothing. When faced with such a good deal, only idiots would not take it. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others slowly went forward, no longer looking at Lu Jingqi and the others. Winners and losers had already been determined. Xia Jiqing sneered at Lu Jingqi. Go on. If it wasn't because of Lu Jingqi seeking trouble, they would be able to stay here now, but they had to go the hard way. However, Xia Jiqing did not need Bailey Hongzhuang to make a move. They had been driven out, and this was a real shame for them. After walking towards their rooms, Bai Junyu's face was still unable to hide his emotions. Hongzhuang is simply too domineering. Xia Jiqing raised her eyebrow. Hongzhuang has always been domineering, huh? But using this much money, isn't it too wasteful? Lu Qinyue's eyebrows were slightly wrinkled and felt it was a pity and a waste. Hearing this, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. This time it was truly refreshing for them. However, the one to suffer the biggest loss was Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing everyone's eyes, she could not help but wave her hand. Don't worry, this is really nothing. Although she spent money, she also made a fortune. Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her room, and Little Black and Little White smugly appeared in front of her. They shook their claws and offered up the treasure they had found. Master, do we get a reward? Seeing Little White and Little Black waving their claws, Bailey Hongzhuang saw 2 Qingquan bags. One belonged to Shui Haoling, the other belonged to Lu Jingqi. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I'll prepare a big meal for you. Eat all you want. Master is the best. The faces of Little Black and Little White were filled with excitement. These 2 idiots, Shui Haoling and Lu Jingqi, were so angry that they never noticed that their Qingquan bags had disappeared. Later on, they would become hopping mad, huh? Bailey Hongzhuang opened Shui Haoling's Qingquan bag and saw a pile of gold coins, which instantly made her eyes brighten. Shui Haoling had not lied. He was indeed very rich, but now all his money had fallen into the hands on Bailey Hongzhuang. It seems that Shui Haoling's family still understand that money makes the world go around. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a faint smile. She had always thought that with money, it's always the more the better. She would never say no thank you to more money. But this guy isn't as strong as Master. Under the promise of a big meal, Little Black, could not help but flatter her. Truth was that there were really so much money within Xue Haoling's Qingquan bag, but that guy was just not as domineering as Bailey Hongzhuang. Even though Xue Haoling spent a lot of money every day, but if the price was too high, he could not help but chicken out. Putting away the 2 Qingquan bags, Bailey Hongzhuang was ready to go out and buy some food that the beast could eat in the Chaos Ring. After all, she promised them a big meal, and the amount of food these 2 foodies, Little Black and Little White, could eat, it was simply amazing. Lu Jingqi and the others reluctantly left the inn. They felt as if they had really lost face today, but they could do nothing about it. There was a lot of people in the world who were good at spending money, but there were very few people who would buy an inn in such a way. When thinking about this white-dressed woman, everyone is feeling immensely helpless. They couldn't find even the slightest weakness. Whether it was appearance, strength, or background, it all seemed to be good, which really gave them unspeakable frustrations. Xiao Lanmei left the inn and went to another. When it came to it, during the tournament, all that mattered was strength and nothing else. However, this white-dressed woman had really made him interested. Such a perfect woman. Only a few men would be uninterested in her. Xue Haoling, do you know the specific information of these cultivators from Kanglin College? Xiao Lanmei asked. Hearing the question, Xue Haoling shook his head. Although he liked to inquire about news, he never put the Kanglin College's special enrollment students in his eyes, so he had never looked for their information. It seemed that they really made a mistake. If they had some sort of previous understanding about them, they would not have ended up in this kind of situation. When the cultivators of Beihai College reached the second inn, Xue Haoling was ready to pay when his eyes suddenly turned shocked and his expression ugly. His hands patted his body, and his face became more and more pale. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Xue Haoling, what are you doing? Lu Jingqi was impatient. What had happened before had already made her unhappy. Now she just wanted to rest, but even this was delayed by Xue Haoling. My Qingquan bag is gone, Xue Haoling exclaimed. There was a lot of treasures inside his Qingquan bag. When it was lost, the loss would simply be too great. When Xue Haoling spoke, the expressions of the others changed slightly. Check again. Are you sure you did not lose it when you played with it before? Xue Haoling shook his head. Impossible. I had the Qingquan bag with me when I left the inn, as I put the gold coins into it as we left. He had always protected his Qingquan bag. Even a thief couldn't steal it from him, and now it was gone. Lu Jingqi did not care about what Xue Haoling was saying. She just wanted to rest quickly, and thus she reached out for her own Qingquan bag. It was just that when she touched where the Qingquan bag was supposed to be, it was empty. Why did my Qingquan bag disappear? Lu Jingqi suddenly said in a hurry. It must have been stolen by the students of Kanglin College. Lu Jinglin's face was also showing her worry and anger. Let us go find and confront them. Lu Jingqi nodded her head. It must be them. Otherwise, the Qingquan bag can't be lost just like that. Xiao Lanmei looked at Lu Jingqi and the others indifferently. He then took out some coins and paid for their rooms before he said, You have no proof. Even if you go, you can only argue with them. As soon as his voice had fallen, Xiao Lanmei paid no more attention to the others and directly headed towards the room on the second floor. He never liked trouble, but he had not stopped Lu Jingqi from creating trouble before. Even so, he did not want to continue accompanying them like this. When she saw the move of Xiao Lanmei, Lu Jingqi's face became difficult to look at. It was obvious that he was not going to pay any attention to them anymore. Big sister, Lu Jingqi angrily cried out. I can't swallow this breath. Lu Jinglin's expression showed a strong helplessness. Jingqi, we can only endure. If Xiao Lanmei went forward, they might have a chance, but he already indicated that he was not going to participate. They had no chance at all, and even if they went there, they might not even be a match for the white-dressed woman. Lu Jingqi understood the meaning of Lu Jinglin, but this bad breath, she really couldn't swallow it. She was hopping mad. I will kill them. Otherwise, I won't be unable to endure this hatred. Xue Haoling's face was blue. He had never before eaten such a big loss. He had brought a lot of his things with him on this trip to the Qing dynasty. There were many rare items in the imperial capital. He originally planned to buy some cultivation resources and rare objects in the imperial capital, now that he has lost it all and they have not even reached the capital yet. How could he accept this? As he thought about this, he truly hated the cultivators of Kangling College. Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo were standing together and looking at another two middle-aged men. The atmosphere was tense. I did not expect that in over 10 years, there is no progress at all in the Kangling College's students. They even were so rude as to cut through a woman's dress. Their methods are truly shameful. One of the middle-aged men took the lead in speaking. He was wearing a silver robe, and his voice was filled with disdain. Mo Xinghai, your students already lost. Be less arrogant. Lu Huayan did not care about the ridicule in the other's words. Cultivators only care about success or failure. The process was unimportant. We don't think this can be regarded as losing. You use some unconventional ways. Duan Yingwu coldly snorted. Hearing this, Fu Hongbo sneered. Duan Yingwu, you are a mentor for many years at Beihai College. Nothing has changed at all. We used unconventional ways to win. Well, at least our students did not bully the civilians. I don't know how much better your students are, but their character sure is poor. Fu Hongbo's mouth curled into a smirk as he looked at the other two teachers. Listening to Fu Hongbo's words, the expressions on Duan Yingwu and Mo Xinghai turned ugly. They were angry in their heats. They had not expected the students of the two colleges to meet here, but they were all watching the scene from a distance. They had not stopped it before because they too wanted to see who would emerge victorious when the colleges collided. They were always very confident, and they were sure that the winner would be the students from Beihai College. They would never have thought that the results turned out to be so different from their thoughts. The students from Kangling College actually suppressed them. They also understood that although the method that Xia Jiqing used was rather underhanded, Bailey Hongzhuang had really defeated Lu Jinglin, and the others had not been defeated either. Lu Huayin smiled slightly as he looked at Fu Hongbo. Fu Hongbo never spoke much, but when he did, he completely rendered others speechless. Today was not a part of the tournament. When we reach Lingying College, your pride will be a joke. Duan Yingwu sneered, no longer paying attention to Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo. Instead, he directly left together with Mo Xinghai. They went to see their students, because today's actions had truly left them with no face left. Lu Huayin and Fu Hongbo looked at each other and saw that their faces were both filled with happy smiles. These students and mentors of Beihai College were a bit too proud. They could not help but feel that their own students were much better. Those little guys really brought us some honor today, Lu Huayin smiled. Duan Yingwu is already mad. I am afraid he must have rushed to scold his students. Lu Huayin raised an eyebrow. Do you want to go visit our students now? Fu Hongbo thought for a moment. Let them grow up on their own. Let's go to see the vice principal. They were not useful to Gong Shaoqing and the others right now. Should they just go there for the sake of praising them? Hearing this, Lu Huayin nodded his head. Okay, the vice principal must have waited for us for a while. The night slowly descended on the city, and Bailey Hongzhuang was standing at the window, looking out on the unusually lively night view of Longwang Town. There was a faint smile on her lips. In the time she has been gone, many things has become different, but the scene in front of her, with the bustling atmosphere, did not change at all. Master, let's go. Little Black and Little White came out. They had been waiting for their boss to treat them to a delicious meal. Knowing that the two little guys could no longer wait, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded his head sure. Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the inn. Xia Jiqing and the others had not rested for so many days already and were tired. All they wanted to do was take a rest. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang decided to go on her own. She was just going to buy something. It would not take too long for her to come back. Walking on the street, although it was already night, the scene was much more lively than it was during daytime. The night scene even made her slightly sentimental. Little Black and Little White was asking for a lot of things, and whenever they made a request, Bailey Hongzhuang bought them all the things they wanted. Even Baishir was unable to refrain from eating. Today's harvest was quite good, and Bailey Hongzhuang felt like she should reward them. Soon Bailey Hongzhuang made it to the marketplace of Longwang Town. Just standing on outside the market, Bailey Hongzhuang could hear the hustle and bustle coming from inside, and could not help but feel attracted to it. The marketplace was the most lively place in every city, and most of the things sold here were related to cultivation. Although it was mainly ordinary cultivation resources you could find at the marketplace, if you found something rare, you couldn't help but feel very lucky and fulfilled. As Bailey Hongzhuang entered the marketplace, everyone who saw her had a fascinated gleam in their eyes. Even if they had seen beautiful women before, they had never seen someone as beautiful as Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the gazes of everyone, the eyebrows of Bailey Hongzhuang wrinkled slightly. She had entered the market on a whim. Originally, she had not intended to come here. She sighed to herself, reminding herself that in the future, when entering such places, she ought to wear a black cloak so that she would not attract unnecessary troubles. Such a good-looking girl. I have never seen someone looking this stunning before. This girl is a student of Kanglan College. I advise you to not cause trouble, otherwise you won't know how you died. There were many people in the crowd who had seen her earlier. The act outside the restaurant earlier was enough to make her famous in all of Longwang Town. Hearing what the person said, the man snorted, "You said this girl is a girl of the Kanglan College? Aside from a student from one of the 3 colleges, how many girls can have such a temperament?" The person who spoke could not help but snort at the man before he continued to focus on his own stall. The man who had originally had some underhanded ideas in his heart also gave up. The cultivators from the Kanglan College were not normal people. He could not afford to offend them. He might make a big mistake, and he did not want to die young. It was not just him. Everyone who had been standing around felt a chill in their hearts after listening to the words. Seeing that the situation eased up, Bailey Hongzhuang was also relieved. It seemed as if the big fight in the afternoon had some benefits. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the different stalls while walking, but went straight towards the exit. There was nothing that caught her interest. Even so, she did not feel disappointed. After all, most of the things in the marketplaces were used by ordinary cultivators. The real treasures had already been sold at a high price, so they're hard to find. However, just as she was about to leave, her eyes fell on a stall. In the light of sight was a black parchment roll randomly placed on the stall. The parchment roll looked ordinary, but she could feel some energy fluctuations with her strong spiritual sense. Her spiritual strength was very outstanding amongst cultivators. The fluctuations of this scroll was very small. If her strength was not high enough, she would never have noticed. Bailey Hongzhuang stood in front of the stall and looked at the things that was placed upon it. There were some herbs, demon crystals, and weapons, but Bailey Hongzhuang was not lacking any of these. In addition, there were some unknown small things of no use, and the parchment roll was placed together with them. Baisher's gaze fell on the demon crystal. It walked all the way towards the demon crystal, causing the others to stop and look at it. "Girl, what do you want to buy?" The owner was a middle-aged man. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was in front of his stall, he could not help but ask. Not waiting for Bailey Hongzhuang to answer, Baisher jumped onto the stall, and the 2 claws held onto the demon core. Seeing Baisher's actions, the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang lit up slightly. This little guy understood her thoughts. Bailey Hongzhuang took Baisher and held him up, while he was still holding onto the demon crystal in his paws, as if he was refusing to let go. The stall owner also felt it was quite amusing after seeing the appearance of Baisher. "Girl, your pet is quite funny." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled helplessly. He just like all these beautiful things. The stall owner nodded his head slightly. It seemed that this contracted pet was purely for appearance purposes. It did not seem to have any fighting ability. This kind of pet was very cute, and they usually like pretty things. It was normal for this beast to look at the demon crystal right now. "How much does this demon crystal cost?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "This is a demon crystal from a second-ranked demon beast. It costs 100 gold coins." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows raised slightly. "I remember that the price of the demon crystal of a demon fox is normally around 90 gold coins. Your price is a bit expensive." Hearing this, the stall owner looked a bit sheepish. He was not aware that this young girl knew so much about the market. "Girl, this demon fox can't be caught in our country. The Beast Mountain Range is far from us, so the mercenaries needs to work hard to get it." "That's enough." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bashi in her arms, but it seems as if it has no intention of letting go of the demon crystal, holding onto it tightly. The stall owner was also nervous. It would be such a shame if the girl left just like that. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hongzhuang said helplessly, "Seller, this demon crystal is really expensive. Why don't you give me something else as well?" She had previous experience that if you wanted a treasure at a trading market, you could never directly ask the price for that item. If you did, the owner would directly raise the price, or he might not sell it. After all, such a thing that no one wanted to buy, if she suddenly wanted it, everyone would become suspicious. Therefore, her current actions were the safest approach. "Girl, this is a small business after all." The stall owner pretended to be helpless, but deep inside he was feeling lucky. "These things aren't that good, but you can pick 2 things amongst them." Bailey Hongzhuang laughed in her heart. It seemed that her goal has been reached. After picking a good-looking ornament, she picked the parchment scroll. "These 2 things, then." "That's fine." The stall owner smiled, and he felt it was very profitable. These 2 things were simply not worth any money. He did not want to cheat the girl, but she seemed satisfied with these 2 things, so he was also happy. Bailey Hongzhuang left the marketplace and reached out to stroke Baishir's fur. "You are so smart," she praised him. She was thinking of buying something else, and Baishir had understood her idea. As a result, the stall owner had no suspicions at all. Listening to the praising words of Bailey Hongzhuang, Baishir could not help but being somewhat smug. It excitedly licked Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and said, "Naturally, stinky guy, little black and little white cursed," but Baishir did not care. These 2 guys were just cursing because they had not been praised. They were just upset that they weren't beasts that their master could bring out. "It is getting late, so let us go back," Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. However, after walking a bit, her expression changed slightly. Her eyes turned dark as a bit of killing intent flashed within. "Master, someone is following us." Little Black's expression was solemn. Previously, the master had always acted together with the Kanglan College's students, but now they have acted alone for the first time. These people have appeared out of nowhere. It seems that they have been following them for a while. "There are 3 people following us. All of them are in the Red Realm, and I cannot judge their exact strength," Little White analyzed, but his voice was somewhat heavy. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was at the 2nd stage of the Red Realm. With her age, it was already very good, but when facing these opponents, she would encounter a great pressure. Unless Little Black attacked, then it would be fairly simple, but if he truly attacked, then they might be too eye-catching and completely exposed. "There's still me." Baishir was unhappy that Little Black and Little White dared to ignore it. Little Black and White had actually forgotten that Baishir had broken through just recently and its strength was now at the 5th stage of the Red Realm. It was a big boost in strength. "Since you have appeared, stop hiding and come out." It was already late, and the people on the street had almost all dispersed. Only a few people were packing up their things and going home. The night was completely black, and Bailey Hongzhuang had to admit that the other party had truly picked a good time to move. With the words of Bailey Hongzhuang falling, a man and 2 women appeared in front of her. They were all wearing black clothes, and their faces were covered with a cloth, so that it was impossible to see their appearances at all. "Your perception is sharp," the woman on the left said, "but you will not live past tonight." The eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang were deep like a well. She was alert, but not fearful, and there was no panic at all. "Who sent you?" "Han Shilling." So far, only 2 people would send red real mead cultivators to kill her, Han Shilling and Ji Yuner. Contraction between herself and Ji Yuner was not small, and even though she later resolved her poison, with her bad temperament, it was not easy to write off the previous resentment. With Han Shilling, although she looked very elegant and gentle on the surface, Bailey Hongzhuang could easily conclude that her heart was black. She would use any means to achieve her goals. "You do not need to know this," the man in the middle whispered. Bailey Hengzwang's lips curled up slightly. Since you are coming to take my life, you should at least tell me who is going to kill me. We are from Shurtian Tower. We kill people, and that is all that matters. The man's voice is low, and the two women by his side immediately moved, all of them rushing towards Bailey Hengzwang. Shurtian Tower? This was the first time Bailey Hengzwang heard about them. It should be an assassination organization. Since the other party actually looked for an assassination organization to deal with her, then it was likely to be Han Shieling. This was her style. Now that Di Beichun had returned to Tiangang's sect, Han Shieling naturally couldn't use her own hands, but letting an assassination organization deal with her, it would undoubtedly let her wash her hands of it. With Ji Yun'er's impulsive temper, she would never order an organization to deal with her. She would send her minions instead. Looking for an assassination organization? She wasn't that smart. The strength within the two women's bodies surged in an instant. The majestic power bust out of the third stage of the Red Realm. Bailey Hengzwang looked seriously at the two women. She was currently at the second stage of the Red Realm, but she firmly believed that she would be able to battle those at the third stage. However, she was just still worried about the man standing at the side. She still did not know what strength he wielded. Judging the situation, the man's strength was clearly stronger than the two women. The reason he had not attacked yet was because he was not willing to attack just yet. When Bailey Hengzwang looked at the man, she noticed that he was also looking at her, albeit with a disdainful gleam in his eyes. He didn't really understand why they all needed to attack. Bailey Hengzwang was merely a second-stage Red Realm cultivator. Was it really necessary for all of them to attack? The employer had made it clear that they had to come together to kill Bailey Hengzwang. It could be seen from this that the employer did not want Bailey Hengzwang to have the slightest chance of survival. And the payment given by their employer was also rich. They truly got a bargain this time. Bailey Hengzwang's energy was also surging in her body, and her eyes locked onto the two women. The two women did not intend to waste any time. They directly rushed at Bailey Hengzwang. Their bodies were like two shadows in the dark, aiming straight at Bailey Hengzwang's vital points. As an assassin, they wanted to kill their opponent right away, so attacking the vital points was the best solution. The perfect and alluring face was immensely cold, and Bailey Hengzwang was not slow. Yuanli gathered between her two palms, and she did not hesitate to greet the two female assassins. When the two assassins saw that Bailey Hengzwang had not escaped, and even took the opportunity to greet their attack, their eyes were filled with disdain, their lips curled into a sneer. One idiot. The cultivation base was weaker than them, but still thought about resisting. What was the difference between this and suicide? Boom! The fists of Bailey Hengzwang quickly collided with the fists of the female assassins. As they collided, Yuanli shot out, and a terrible shockwave wafted out, showing that the power was terrible. However, during this clash of power, the eyes of the two assassins could not help but be filled with surprise. It was to be expected that with their cultivation base, and with both of them attacking at the same time, this Bailey Hengzwang only had a dead end. However, they were shocked that even though they used their strength, which was higher than Bailey Hengzwang, she was not injured. I did not expect that you have some strength. One of the women snorted, her eyes boiling with humiliation and anger. The two of them had joined forces but been blocked by a weaker cultivator. This was a great shame to them. Bailey Hengzwang's lips curled into a slight playful arc. This is not all I got. Next, Bailey Hengzwang did not waste any time, but instantly took some steps forward. She took the initiative to attack one of the assassins. Her best choice now was to attack them one by one. If she could kill one of the women first, then her situation would be much better. Boom! The two women continued to attack with their palms, and the tyrannical and unmatched strength continued to explode from the two figures. However, the more they fought, the more fear the two women started to feel. The strength of Bailey Hengzwang was not at all like someone at the second stage of the Red Realm. Bailey Hengzwang was not a normal cultivator of the second stage of the Red Realm. She was a true peerless powerhouse. She had a plenty of combat experience and could in no way be compared to normal practitioners. Although she was only at the second stage of the Red Realm, and she was at a disadvantage, she could use her countless experience and her temperament to raise her strength to a new level. Not to mention, with all her knowledge from her previous life, she had made an extremely stable foundation to her cultivation base, and she was definitely the strongest among her own rank. Boom! Another hard collision caused one of the female assassins to step a few steps back, a fearful and shocked expression on her face. Bailey Hongzhuang's strength is simply too much. Even she couldn't compare to it. You are just a second-stage Red Realm practitioner. How can your strength be so overwhelming? The female assassin could not help but ask suspiciously. She could not help but think that the information they had received was wrong. That Bailey Hongzhuang was in fact not a second-stage Red Realm practitioner, but that she had kept her strength hidden. The lips of Bailey Hongzhuang were slightly hooked into an enchanting and charming smile. Why should I tell you? For cultivators, power was extremely important, especially a small difference between them could be enough to cause problems when fighting. After spending time tempering her body under the waterfall, she often used medicines to improve her body strength. Although no one could see it when looking at her, her body is far tougher and more powerful than the average cultivator. Not only this, but she also cultivated a body martial art that she had gotten from the Bailey family, the Jade body technique. Body martial arts were quite different from ordinary martial arts. Its only purpose was to temper the body. The Jade body technique, when cultivated to completion, the body would be comparable to jade, indestructible. The Jade body technique was divided into 3 layers. Up until now, she had only succeeded in cultivating the first layer of the martial arts. As for the later 2 layers, it would take a long time to reach. However, in her current situation, the first layer of the Jade body technique was already enough to give her a lot of help. Hearing the ridiculing words of Bailey Hongzhuang, the face of the woman turned ugly. Their strength was undoubtedly higher, but it felt as if the other party held the upper hand. They wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang to teach her not to be too arrogant. Baishur was quietly staying on the side, posing as a cute monster without any attacking power, as if it did not even know that its master was in danger. Master had already told it before that she would take care of the 2 female assassins, while the target of Baishur was the male assassin. He only needed to pay attention to the male assassin, not let him attack, and when he tried, stop him. Baishur's round eyes kept staring at the male assassin in a seemingly careless manner. As long as the male assassin made the slightest movement, he would pounce on him right away. Fire Fist. The 2 female assassins saw that during their offensive, Bailey Hongzhuang had not at all lost ground, and their faces, because ugly as they no longer held anything back and even used their martial arts. One right and one left, both of them reaching towards Bailey Hongzhuang, blocking all her retreat options. They were going to force Bailey Hongzhuang to return these attacks. They did not believe that under such an advance, she would not be able to hold on. When a male assassin saw that the 2 women had directly displayed their Fire Fist martial arts, there was a smile in his eyes. It seemed that this battle was about to end. Their mission would soon be completed. Bailey Hongzhuang's pupils instantly contracted, but her heart was calm. These 2 women had never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang could make it out of this blockade, and when they finally realized it, it was too late. Their fists had already collided into one another. Boom! The 2 fire fists collided with a tyrannical strength. Both of them were backing up a few steps as their faces turned pale. However, just as one of the women stepped back, Bailey Hongzhuang had already arrived behind her with her own attack, Breaking Storm. The majestic Yuanli surged from Bailey Hongzhuang's fist and did not hesitate at all to attack the woman. The male assassin was shocked after seeing this and yelled out, "Be careful." However, all of this was happening so fast as lightning and thunder. Even though the male assassin called out, there was no time for the woman to react. Boom! The Breaking Storm smashed into the back of the woman. Under this fierce attack, the woman's body flew straight forward and fell heavily on the ground. At the same time, a mouthful of blood sprayed out of her mouth. her breath weakening before completely cutting off. Bailey Hongzhuang was still cold. She had timed this attack perfectly to give a fatal blow to the woman. In this kind of siege she was experiencing, she could not give her opponents even the slightest chance of survival. Once she found the opportunity, she had to grasp it. The deep black phoenix eyes were completely calm. Not the slightest unrest could be seen within them. The bright moonlight shone upon Bailey Hongzhuang, and her cold figure gave of a cold atmosphere. Especially the smile that lingered on her blood-red lips, it was quite chilling. The expressions of the male and final female assassin changed a bit. According to the information they had gotten, she was merely a student at Kanglin College. Most of the students in Kanglin College were young people, and there were not many who had actually killed another human before. However, after killing someone, there was no tension in Bailey Hongzhuang's expression. Instead, there was some enjoyment. As assassins, they had a lot of blood on their hands, but they could still remember the panic and nervousness first time they killed someone. The two were shocked when they saw the reaction of Bailey Hongzhuang. According to the words of their tower master, those who behave like Bailey Hongzhuang were born to be killers. Now that I had seen this kind of reaction from a simple college student, it was simply unbelievable. Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop there. She went to the other female killer. He wanted a battle. For those who wanted to kill her, she would never be soft. Being an assassin, you should expect to be killed. Feeling the coldness of Bailey Hongzhuang, the last woman also felt a heavy pressure on her. Previously, the two of them had not been her opponent. Now she was the only one surviving. Naturally, she would be even less of an opponent now. Why are you not attacking? The woman could not help but look at the man behind her. At this point, he could not help but be a little shocked by Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing the words of the woman, the male assassin slowly awoke from his stupor. If he did not come out, it would end in both women's death. Losing one member was already a great shame for them. If he lost two companions against the second stage Red Realm cultivator, he would become the joke of Shurtian Tower when he returned. The battle is over, you can go die now. The man's voice was bold, and his eyes gleamed with a gloomy, killing intent in the dark night. At the same time, a violent and volatile energy exploded out from his body. He was actually a 5th stage Red Realm practitioner. The 5th stage of the Red Realm was a good strength when it came to assassins. However, if he wanted to rely on this strength to put her to death, it was not enough. Only at the 5th stage of the Red Realm, and you dare to threaten my life, you overestimate yourself. Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips hooked up in a confident and calm smile. Baishur, who was standing on the side, had long since been unable to hold back. Since it had broken through, it had not once attacked, and now it finally had a chance to fight. This man was so arrogant. It had to bite his neck off. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang, the man could not help but hesitate. Had the mentors from the college arrived? However, when he looked around him, he saw that there was no movement, and he let go of the fear in his heart. You are only a 2nd stage Red Realm cultivator. You sure talk big. Aren't you afraid of having your tongue cut off? The female assassin sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang's one brow slightly raised, and she chuckled. Since you are two, then we will also be two. Let's fight 2 against 2. When the words were said, the male and the female assassin could not help but look around. Did the mentors really appear? Although they were confident in their strength, they knew that they were not the opponents of the mentors from the college. A feeling of tension and fear spread in their hearts, and they kept looking around. If they saw the appearance of the mentors, they would run away in an instant. There was nothing around them. No movement at all. You lied to me. The face of the man turned green with shame. He had been tricked by a simple sentence by Bailey Hongzhuang. What an embarrassment this was. Why would I lie to you? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. Your mentor hasn't arrived. The male assassin gnashed his teeth with anger. Bailey Hongzhuang was showing far too much confidence, so he was easily tricked by her. Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged her shoulders innocently. When did I say that my mentors were here? What's more, there are 2 mentors at my college. If they come, it would be a 3 against 2. Reaching this point, Bailey Hongzhuang helplessly shook her head. As far as UIQ is concerned, How could you even become an assassin? Being this stupid, it was a miracle that he was still alive. Little Black and Little White were also chuckling. These two assassins were simply too stupid. The situation that had worried them before was now easy to solve. They had already passed the dangerous part, so they had nothing to worry about. Naturally, they did not mind humiliating the assassin. Then why would you say 2 against 2? There is no one else apart from you. The woman could not help but say in a very loud voice. Although the ridicule in Bailey Hongzhuang's words made her angry, her alertness as an assassin made her endure, trying to understand what was going on. After all, if there really is one more person here, they might suffer. Bailey Hongzhuang pointed at Baishir. I meant this guy. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.